going on, NBA fans? The NBA Finals for the 2022 season is officially set, and it will be underway this Thursday evening as the Boston Celtics will travel to the Golden State Warriors. And this is going to be a great series because I think both of these teams match up very well together. You've got superstars on both sides of the court, and both teams go very deep. And obviously, both head coaches and Steve Kerr and Ime Udoka are two of the best coaches in the association. I'm not gonna make this video too long. Let's get right into today's video. Now, before we actually do get into today's video, if you guys could drop me a like. It takes 1 second and it helps me and the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jacksonville Jaguars and of course NBA content that I do here on YouTube. And if you guys could, make sure y'all go follow me on my socials. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day on both Instagram and on Twitter. The links will be in the description down below. Let's get into today's finals preview. Now, I'm going to start off on the West Coast, and I'm going to start by talking about the Golden State Warriors first and foremost. This is the Warriors' 6th NBA Finals in the last 8 years, and we understand the dynasty and the trio in which Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry have helped to revolutionize the game of basketball. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time and one of the greatest point guards of all time. Klay Thompson's a top 5 shooter, and Draymond Green has been the pick and roll partner and the dynamic X factor to why the Golden State Warriors have had so much success throughout their short time in the NBA and this dynasty that they've dominated the league. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors had a pretty difficult path to the finals, taking out the MVP regardless of Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray being there in that first round. Second round, they went and took out the Memphis Grizzlies with an absolute dogfight with Ja Morant and that Grizzlies team. Then they went and took out Luka Doncic, arguably the best player in basketball, which I won't quite say yet, and the Dallas Mavericks, who had taken out the Phoenix Suns in the semifinals. Golden State Warriors have been a very resilient team this year, having Klay Thompson come back off those 2 catastrophic injuries where we hadn't seen him play since the 2019 NBA Finals versus the Toronto Raptors, where he tore his ACL. As he was recovering from that, we all know he tore his Achilles. Had another year setback, so he hadn't played, I think, in over 1,000 days, if memory serves me correctly. Klay Thompson comes back. He's clearly not the same player that he once was, but he's still a top 75 player and one of the greatest players to have ever played this game, back in full form. And we all know Game 6 Klay is an absolute animal. The Golden State Warriors go deep. Steve Kerr, like I said, is one of the best coaches in NBA history, and Steve Kerr's only lost 1 playoff series in his entire tenure as a head coach in the NBA, which speaks volume to the level of coach in which he is, and that was to obviously the Cleveland Cavaliers back in the 2016 NBA Finals. When you look down at the depth chart, like Lee, Moses Moody, Kuminga, obviously Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney, the list goes on. The Golden State Warriors, regardless if they want to go 7, 8, 9, even 10 players deep, depending on what Steve Kerr wants to do with his rotations, they have length and versatility, they have the athleticism, and obviously they can absolutely kill you in transition threes and in the half-court offense with the way they can spread the floor. The Boston Celtics are in for a very tough matchup when it comes to the Warriors. Now let me get into the Boston Celtics side of things. Now, if you didn't see already, I already admitted how unbelievably wrong I was about this Boston Celtics team. I will link to that video up above. I won't even get into that. But let me talk about how impressive their run was to the finals. The most impressive run I've seen out of any team in recent memory in their path getting to the finals. The Boston Celtics in the first round win and beat Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets, who were the only team in the NBA to have gotten swept this postseason. They go on and they take down the best player and the reigning defending NBA champions in the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 7 on their home court. Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, they go down to South Beach and they go and beat the Miami Heat, which that should have never been a 7-game series. But the Boston Celtics were resilient and they were able to get the job done to advance to the NBA Finals. And let me just say this about Ime Udoka. I believe Ime Udoka is the only NBA rookie head coach in the history of the game to win 2 Game 7s in his first season. That is an impressive feat to say nonetheless, and the fact that he did it versus Giannis Antetokounmpo, regardless if they have Chris Middleton or not, and the fact that he did it versus Jimmy Buckets and Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the game, speaks volume to the type of coach in which Ime Udoka is, and the fact that he learned under Greg Popovich all these years, man. He really helped to change this culture and this team around, really get everybody to buy into a system, because we saw that with Brad Stevens, the Boston Celtics, they were a team that was on the cusp of championship aspirations, but they were never able to get up and over that hump. But now they found an identity on the defensive side of the ball, and that's where this conversation begins. The Golden State Warriors are going to be in for a test, regardless of how they space the floor. Everyone on the Boston Celtics can switch. We saw that time and time again throughout the NBA postseason. and the Boston Celtics play with the level of physicality that the Golden State Warriors are going to have to match, especially in that half-court defense. If Golden State is not going out and getting transition buckets in the fast break, Golden State in the physicality that the Boston Celtics play with, they're going to have to match that level of intensity. Because when you look at Derek White, Jason Tatum, who's became a very good defender, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, the defensive player of the year, Al Horford, Robert Williams, you look down everywhere. Maybe everybody on the Boston Celtics, maybe except for Peyton Pritchard, can play defense, and they can switch 1 through 5, and that's what Ime Udoka is going to do. He's going to find a way to play physical and exploit the Golden State Warriors, even though you're not always going to be able to do that because they're going to get their matchups. The Boston Celtics defensively is where this team is going to have to make their money in the finals. And everyone saw that Jason Tatum arrived after what he did to Kevin Durant in the first series, what he did to the Milwaukee Bucks, regardless of the Game 3 performance in Milwaukee, and the fact that he took down the Miami Heat and he won the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals trophy, man. Shout out to Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown has ascended, and these two have found a way to work coincidentally together. Marcus Smart is the X factor for this Boston Celtics team. He's the heart and soul of this team, and I have to see how that ankle's going to hold up versus the Golden State Warriors, especially if he's going to be guarding Steph Curry. I'm not sure how Marcus Smart's going to be able to run around that court the entire time guarding the greatest shooter of all time. Now that gets me into my verdict. Who do I have winning this series, and how many games do I think it's going to go? I have the Golden State Warriors winning this series in 6, and you would think with how often I was wrong about the Boston Celtics, how I picked the Bucks to win this series, how I picked the Heat to win that series, and now that they're in the finals, you would think I would have learned my lesson by now, and it's no disrespect to the Boston Celtics. I have the Golden State Warriors winning this series. I have the veterans and some of the greatest players to have ever played this game in the Golden State Warriors, taking down the young guys in the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are very capable of winning this series, but the fact that the Celtics did drop 2 games at home versus the Miami Heat, and the fact that the Golden State Warriors have yet to lose an entire game at home this postseason, that speaks volumes to the type of team that they are at home too. I trust Steph Curry, I trust Steve Kerr, I trust Klay Thompson and the rest of this crew. I do think it's possible that the Warriors do lose a game, games 1 or 2, to the Boston Celtics, but I'm going to take the Golden State Warriors to win this series in 6. I do think that this is going to be a closeout game in Boston. And the last thing I want to say is, if the Golden State Warriors are going to win this series, Andrew Wiggins is going to have to be the X factor. And with his length and his athleticism, he's going to have to match up well on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You're not going to completely exploit these guys because they're 2 phenomenal all-star and superstar borderline potential players. But Andrew Wiggins is going to have to step up and be the Andrew Wiggins that we've seen all postseason. That's what I'm going to say. But NBA fans, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know, who do you guys have winning this series and in how many games? Like I said, I have the Dubs winning this series in 6 in Boston to close out the NBA Finals, and Steph Curry will get his 4th ring and his first ever Finals MVP. Thank you guys so much for sticking around throughout the whole video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me in the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA and, of course, Jacksonville Jaguars content. But that's it for this video. I want to say thank you guys again so much for watching. But Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. Peace!